Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. We have an action-packed week, and we are actually going to start it off with the Steelers. But before we get into that, Matt, do you have anything for High Tempo?
Yes, I do. This week, we're actually starting some pre-camp things with our team. And I just kind of wanted to kind of give a shout-out to my CK boys because we ran a player camp last year, a youth camp, and I wanted to do something a little bit different this year. And so what we ended up doing is it started today and finishes for any student in the program, 3rd grade through 12th grade. They have an opportunity to come and kind of practice with the varsity team, and we go through all the drills we use. The coaches from up and down the program have opportunities to see exactly how we coach the different positions, how we install the plays. And all in all, day one, I was very happy with the draft. It's amazing the change that the program has taken over the last couple of years, and kids are definitely buying in. So this is probably a really proud coach moment for me, but I see that we're starting to we're starting to understand what we need to do to be successful and take that next step. And definitely going into next week where the bear comes out and we got to be mean and we got to get what we need done to prepare for two-a-days. I like that we know in the preseason and from top to bottom we're heading in the right direction.
Very cool. I did want to get your thoughts on, it's a lot of hot topic right now, especially down here in the South, as we have some heat advisory stuff. What special things do you do to get your team acclimated for the heat?
Well, when I was coaching down south, I thought this was a really bizarre rule because there were times where you're in helmets doing different things throughout summer, like say your 7-on-7s, and then it was like for heat acclimation, then you had to take all of your equipment off for a couple days. You're doing 7-on-7s and you're wearing your helmet and you're doing all this conditioning with equipment on, why all of a sudden you have to work backwards. But I think it's important for the kids maybe that are new to the program or new to playing sports that you want to make sure that they're drinking water, that they're staying hydrated. If it's too hot, sometimes you have to adjust your practice schedule, either practice indoors, which is kind of a pain, or you make your practice either earlier or later in the day so that it doesn't interfere with the peak heat times. And that could potentially be some problems too. To me, I like to just keep things as consistent as possible. So unfortunately, if it means practicing in a gym, then you make do with what you have, and maybe you don't go as heavy with your passing script, but you can still get quality work in the gym and kind of get things going. What do you think?
I think that sounds pretty good. What about, thankfully the Florida Gators, they created Gatorade. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm actually more of a Powerade person myself. I prefer the correct balance of electrolytes and fluids that make for a high quality sports beverage. Maybe we reach out to them. They could be a sponsor for us.
But Matt, they let Steve Spurrier do great things with the Gators. Did you ever watch that documentary they had on Gatorade?
No, I didn't. I don't like the Gators. I don't like anything about Georgeville.
Well, I did want to bring up, I forgot to bring it up, I mentioned it last week, but my man Steve Spurrier, he got his Orlando Apollos championship ring. What are your thoughts on that? Another championship for the Spurrier.
Just another paper championship. He didn't actually have to compete it was just like they gave him a trophy. They gave him a participation trophy.
Undefeated.
Just like everyone else, just like he won his Heisman when everyone else was over in Vietnam fighting. Like he won the award when there was no competition. He got to win this competition when there was no one else there.
Wow. So bitter. So jealous.
Not jealous, just facts. But from a Michigan man, don't let the facts bother you.
All right, let's get into the Steelers controversy. The big one. Steelers have a Hall of Honor, and we actually made fun of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Hall of Honor last year and got some heat for it. Basically, for an entire year, we got heat on that episode. But here, this is the Steelers' third Hall of Honor, the third class. that goes in. They can select up to 5 people, but for this class, they only selected 4, the big omission being Troy Polamalu. And, of course, as a Steelers fan, I knew nothing about this Hall of Honor class because I don't care about these fake awards. Like Matt said, paper championships. I don't care about the Hall of Honor class. Why are you not celebrating Super Bowl championships, things that I care about? I'm not going to go watch a seminar on television of guys congratulating themselves with pats on the back. But what did strike out and stand out to me is the fact that they had the audacity to put out a press release or at least have an article written, because I'm sure that they pointed the writers in this direction, where someone actually, for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, actually, hold on, let me see if I have the article. I can get the author's name. Paul Zeiss, don't know how to say that, Zeiss, he wrote about how Troy Polamalu needs to mend fences in Pittsburgh before they honor him. Is this a public relations award? Why should he have to mend fences if they are honoring his football career? One has nothing to do with the other. Are you honoring the fact that he's a championship winning player, or are you honoring the fact that he does great things for the franchise? Go ahead, Matt.
What fences does he need to mend? I know that at the end of his career, he wanted to play another season, and Pittsburgh declined to allow him to continue, which will forever, I will not understand the logic behind that, because how do you let someone who has the presence on and off the field, there's a locker room presence in Polamalu, let him go, but then keep Harrison around for like a gazillion more seasons with all of his antics?
All right, so I'm skimming the article, just make sure I got my facts right. But the big argument that they had was that he doesn't come back to the team celebrations whenever they do the Super Bowl celebrations before games and things like that. That's the number one beef that they have, that he doesn't come back, almost Chris Webber-like. People kept saying Chris Webber never comes back. He never comes back to Michigan. How can Michigan forgive him? But Polamalu, he's doing other things. He was just one of the leading guys in the AAF, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I believe that's what he was doing. He's not sitting at home doing nothing. I understand that they want the guy to come back, but do you come back? If you're retired, and if you're retired listening to this, do you go back to your job every time they have a Christmas celebration? Like, it's just strange that you expect a man in his 40s or 50s, or actually he's even that old. He might even be 30s. I don't even know. He's around Tom Brady's age, or he might even be younger than Tom Brady. He came in the league after him. So he's probably in his 30s. He has a family. He's young, most likely. What is he doing? Why does he have to be back at these celebrations? Are they paying him for these? Or are they trying to use his likeness to garner up fan feelings about past championships because they're not competing for them now? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he's one of my favorite players, and I've talked before about how I think single-handedly the reason that they won the championships that they've won has been because of the stuff that he was able to do. And he's one of those talents that I think when you're looking at what kind of scheme they were able to run, that Polamalu fixed a lot of holes in that secondary. And you can see, based off of when he left, that the secondary has been an absolute dumpster fire. They've been horrid. And every year we draft 2 or 3 secondary guys, and they suck every year and don't play. And we got to sign 90-year-old guys to the team to try to make this work. So I mean, the impact is there. He has to be one of those guys that you have to put in. If you're building a team of like a fantasy mode of all-time people that you'd put on your team, if you don't have him in there, then you have brain damage. I don't know how you leave him off any of list for any All-Star or Hall of Fame or all whatever. He's there.
They're setting a strange precedent with this, because what are you going to do if a player plays half his career at one team or multiple teams, and then he plays a good chunk at the Steelers, and wins a championship, are you going to exclude him because he has ties to the other franchises? Look at what we ripped on Tony Dungy.
They're not going to do that because Jerome Bettis started his career off and had a long run with the St. Louis Rams, or LA Rams now. They're going to own him as a Pittsburgh player because he got the championship there.
Well, I'm thinking, going back to the Tony Dungy controversy that we had last year on the show, if Tony Dungy gets honored by the Buccaneers, but most people know him from his time with the Colts. They don't know him from his time with the Buccaneers. If you're a casual fan, if the Steelers had a player like that, are they going to exclude him because most of the PR stuff he does is with the other team? It just doesn't make sense that they're trying to just nitpick to keep Polamalu out. You're either honoring the guy for his stats and stuff that he did while he's on the team. He's not on the payroll anymore. Why do you expect him to be at all of these things? It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. It's almost as if, because you can even look at it, bringing in another sport, basketball. The Celtic fans always get mad at Larry Bird because he does a lot of stuff with the Indiana Pacers, but guess what? He works for them. So why would he ever be celebrating the Celtics? You got to understand that when you celebrate Larry Bird, you're understanding that you're celebrating the player, not the guy that's right now that's the owner, or he's not the owner. He's like the GM of the Pacers or whatever, or is he the owner? I don't even know what he does there. But that's the level of separation here, that the Steelers, they're not looking at it from that perspective. For whatever reason, they want Polamalu to be around, probably for nostalgic reasons. Like, hey, look at this guy. Remember how many people had his jersey? How many people still have his jersey? Because what other defensive player now are you going to get a jersey of? It's all hype, or I don't know. So it's just a strange thing. Do you think that they'll put him in eventually?
Oh, he has to go in, because even looking, I would guarantee, and I don't even know if he's in there right now, but I would assume if Terry Bradshaw isn't in the ring right now, then more than likely he's going to be in there, and he's not one that comes around. He does his broadcast stuff for Fox, but there's always been bad blood with his relationship with Pittsburgh that you rarely see him pushing for Pittsburgh, even though he's the one that brought him the first 4 Super Bowls. You know, there was always the negative stereotypes that he was a one-trick pony, and that his only claim to fame was throwing the deep ball to Swan and Stallworth. You know, Pittsburgh towards the end of his career ran him out, and it appears that he has bad blood towards them, but it doesn't seem to affect their ability of bringing, that legacy and those Super Bowls up.
And let's just say, if they were worried about him not showing up, kind of like Terrell Owens for the Hall of Fame, then you are almost, if you're looking at it as a fan, you have to just think, what's the motivation for them to care if he shows up? Is it for the free publicity that they're going to get because they're exploiting his name? Because that's basically what it seems like they were trying to do. Okay, we can bring up Polamalu. We know there are still a ton of fresh Polamalu fans, because kids that are like in their 20s now, they grew up with Polamalu. You bring him in, sure, Matt, you can bring in Terry Bradshaw. How many people have seen him play? I don't think I've seen him play. Unless you're talking about like commercials or like some weird celebrity stuff or from watching old videos. But, I mean, realistically, they need to get guys that are fresh. And there's none bigger than Polamalu, like you said. So they're just trying to bring that name in to get people to connect, and they didn't get what they want. They're afraid that he's not going to show up, which again, who cares? Is it like a presentation award for class attendance? No. You're honoring the guy's career, or you're not, or you're just marketing with them. Then pay him. And maybe they do give a paycheck. I don't know. Pay him to be there then. That's my understanding. If you're going to try to make money off of his name for this weird Hall of Honor thing that a lot of teams are doing, there's a business reason behind this. So pay him if you want him to show up. Help his family out. I mean, there are tons of NFL guys right now that are struggling with health insurance and retirement and things like that. And I know Polamalu, he played a lengthy career, so maybe he's not struggling. But If you're going to use his name, you can't be mad and bitter against him for not showing up to other events. Pay him. You have the money. Offer him some money. I'm sure he would show up. I mean, what's your take on that? That's my final thought.
I mean, I would think that if they are going to bring him around and they want to use him in that fashion, then yeah, I don't have a problem with that happening. I would doubt. Well, I would think that they would probably do some kind of package deal where, as part of the Ring of Honor, you're agreeing to X number of appearances and certain things like that. If it was a contractual thing that they're agreeing to, and I don't know if that would be something that they would say, hey, we're going to put you in, and these are the terms. If they were doing it contract based, and he just says, no, I'm not interested, then you move on. But I think it's just in general bad taste that if you have a Ring of Honor and then you're leaving people off for political reasons, then it's not a true Ring of Honor. It's the participation trophies. These are the people that we can get something out of, and either rebranding or rehashing the days of yore that it is what it is. And I think that to me that kind of sucks that they're going that route, because I hate when they try to make the politics about it instead of it just being, these are good players and we want to celebrate these good players and just put them that in a team sport, they performed well. And I think that's what it should be. Don't worry about the things after the fact, because these were guys that contributed to championship teams, and if you're going to celebrate them, then celebrate them. And if you don't, then don't have the Ring of Honor. There's plenty of things to celebrate within the franchise. Don't turn it into another dog and pony show.
That's my thoughts too, Matt. Just celebrate the football players. At the bottom line is they're playing a game. That's the one thing that I hate about what the NFL has become in recent years, and I think that they're still out of touch with a lot of fans. It is a game. Quit trying to make everything about this weird, we are bigger than the sport. Let's do this. Oh, wait, we can't have them. I mean, have they learned nothing from baseball? Baseball basically shot itself in the foot when they went on the witch hunt for PEDs, knowing that everyone was taking them. And now the league has been struggling. I know they still get viewer numbers and stuff like that, but they've been struggling to make a mark with younger viewers. Teenagers and young kids are not watching baseball. Football is going to go in the same direction. It's already starting. More kids sit at home watching video game tournaments on Twitch than they do watching football. And why? Because you're doing BS stuff like this where you have a player that a lot of kids might remember, possibly. I mean, especially teenagers. And you're going to keep him out. Why? Kids don't care if he shows up to the ceremony. So you gotta choose what you want to do. Do you want the sport to be loved by another generation? Or do you want to go eventually the way of boxing? Where people are like, oh, you can get a concussion or that guy could die. I mean, boxing had 2 deaths recently. And it's almost like a caveman sport. I loved boxing growing up. I remember my parents used to watch boxing. They used to talk about like the Holyfield fight. I know we had the one Holyfield-Tyson fight. I didn't even know we could get pay-per-view at our house, but I remember vividly that going down. So, when you're growing up with that kind of stuff, and now you look at boxing, and it's just bad. And I feel like I don't want the NFL to go that way, but with some of the decisions, it's very similar. You have your top guys, just like boxing. They went after Mike Tyson, talked them down. Why talk your big stars down? It just doesn't make any sense to me. You have a name, embrace it. It's a game. We got another one here. Speaking of PEDs, I brought that up a couple minutes ago. Golden Tate. You want to get into this one, Matt?
Yeah, so Golden Tate was with the Lions. I believe he's now with the Giants. And he had a drug test, came up positive, and essentially he had to put out his own personal statement. Said, passing the off season, my wife and I decided to see a specialist for fertility planning, and started a treatment prescribed, and then later discovered it contained an ingredient on the banned substance list. Now, the issue that I have with this is that it wasn't him purposefully trying to use those things to gain athletic advantage. It was something him as well that now has to come to light that I totally don't agree with, and that I don't think is necessary. That yes, he tested positive, but instead of people trying to throw him, under the bus for using performance enhancing drugs, there has to be some kind of HIPAA protection where with these drug tests that it's not leaked out to the public, or that it's however they want to do it, where there has to be some kind of between someone who's going through something, whether it be a fertility treatment, whether it be some kind of medical condition, to be putting private health information out when it's something that a person's privately dealing with their own family. And I just think that it's wrong that they're reaching and trying to make something out of that situation.
Yeah, Skype was breaking up there. He had a pretty good rant going, so I hope people were able to catch that. I looked at this from an outsider perspective, and you're right on the HIPAA stuff, but I'm at the point now where I think they're shooting themselves in the foot when they come across with just a performance-enhancing drug violation. Because there are a lot of nuisances to that, where the Clemson football players, it came out later that they had taken Ostarine, which isn't prescribed for anything other than osteoporosis. So without a doubt, that there was no reason for them to be taking that at all. They were cheating. 15, what did we say? They only tested 15 players out of whatever, and 5 of them came, a third of their players were popped for this osteoporosis drug that strengthens your bones and your muscles for people that have brittle bones. There's zero reason for Clemson football players to have taken that. Public records, they go after Clemson, and they haven't released any more information. Even the internal thing, it came back a couple weeks ago where they came out with a statement saying, hey, we're taking no further questions on this. But a lot of people want to know, what are the effects of healthy guys taking that? At least from my perspective, if you're taking steroids, they don't know the long-term effects. That drug was approved for elderly ladies to take, not for 20-year-old healthy dudes. How do you know that that's not going to affect bone growth in their 30s, where now these guys are breaking hips in their 30s or 40s? You don't know. So I would like them to go ahead. Players are already here. If they agree to the drug test, whatever's on the NFL list, I wish they would make that more of a public display, whether it's signing over some of your rights, Matt. But I think players could be protected a lot in this. If you know you're not cheating, have it be an opt-in system where you can go ahead and sign a waiver for them to release the actual details of what you tested for. If it's something weird, because a lot of players say, oh, it was part of a whey protein thing that was outdated, that's gonna weigh in the public mind a little bit differently than, say, an Ostarine. And we don't know right now. Right now we're looking at Tate's words. I mean, what was it, a testosterone booster? Does he have low T? I don't know. He's talking about going to a fertility specialist. You know that probably could be a case. That's just speculation on my end. But without any further information, we don't know. What if the test came back and it was something totally off the wall, like the Ray Lewis thing, where they were like, yeah, he tested positive for this deer antler spray, but we don't know if that's really against the rules because we don't know what the hell that is. Why is he spraying that on his torn bicep and then playing in the Super Bowl? Did that help him get back? The NFL kind of brushed that under the rug. How could he be doing this deer antler spray and then he's playing in the Super Bowl with a broken, ripped bicep? So if they were more public about it, instead of being vague, that's the one thing that annoys me. Performance-enhancing drugs, but that's such a wide blanket. What if it was a hair loss drug? Like one of those guys, like LeBron. Hell, he was bald. 10 years ago. Now he has hair. Did he get transplants? Did he take Rogaine? We don't know. Basically the same stuff. Why isn't that performance enhancing?
But basically, I mean, it all boils down to the same thing. It shouldn't matter. Like, I think that from a league standpoint, they're looking to push out so much news that it's okay for them to say, oh yeah, this person's in violation of the substance abuse policy, and now we can ban them for 4 games, and now everyone can have all their talking points, and our show included, that we're talking about them. That I would much rather it just be for the privacy of the players. I'd much rather it be where it's kept in the league. That, as it's kept in house, they don't have to push any of that stuff out. And even if he's completing the appeal process, he said Golden Tate said in his statement he was going to pursue the appeal. Why does it have to be released? Because if he appeals it and is successful in his appeal, then no one would need to know the wiser. That he tested, that it was tested positive, that if he's coordinating something with his family and with his doctors, and everyone is doing things the correct way, and it matches with, okay, it gets the approval of the league, then no one needs to know about it. They can keep it completely under wraps, and no one needs to know any further information. Now, if it comes back that he's appealing it, and it's done something to be a performance enhancer to try to give himself an edge, then absolutely. Then release it, do whatever you're going to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know what they can do PR-wise. I almost feel like this leak came at a coordinated time because someone obviously had to leak this out. It wasn't going to be, like you said, it wasn't going to be Tate coming out if he thought he could just appeal it and it was going to be no big deal. But it was suspiciously around the same time that ESPN put out a bunch of articles doubting the GM for the Giants. So I almost wonder if the owner put out some stuff, some feelers, trying to give a scapegoat to the general manager after their quarterback draft pick and some of the other blunders. I saw someone had put out a list of all the viable wide receivers before the Golden Tate news broke, and he was the number one option for Eli Manning, and they had already written an article about how he's been giving no help by the general manager. So they were kind of going after him. You write a piece about, okay, well, here's our best receiver right before the news breaks that he could be suspended. It just doesn't make any sense. I feel like that had to be coordinated either by the owner of the Giants, someone inside the organization that's against the general manager, maybe the coach. I don't even know. At this point, someone trying to protect their job. That could have been the coach. That's just speculation, but it lines up that the news is out there for a reason, not just for a talking point. They want us to talk about it because it looks like they're going to fire their GM sometime this year or at the end of the year. And we will see. If they bomb, look for that move to happen. And we talked about it on this show. July 30th? This will go live on the 31st. So you're listening to this. Write that down in your poll. That's my prediction. That Giants general manager is gone. They've already written the articles about how he has not put talent on that roster. After they traded it away. Trade OBJ, and then you go ahead and write an article about how they have no offensive weapons, Matt. Get real. Got anything else for the NFL?
Well, yeah, while you're saying about OBJ, I like that he was trying to say that he was the reason that the Giants were maintaining. And very calmly, for as much as I hate Eli Manning, I love that he was just like, we won before he got here. And we did good things before he got here anyhow. So it really doesn't matter what his opinion is. I will give credit there that Eli Manning's like, hey, I had one lucky throw that we caught it against the side of our helmet, and it was before you got here, so it didn't matter.
Matt, that was very similar, eerily similar to the Steelers situation. You have Eli Manning win 2 Super Bowls, then they get a loudmouth wide receiver. Locker room issues. OBJ. Then you have the Steelers win 2 Super Bowls, then they get their locker room cancers. So which franchise do you think has a better opportunity to turn things around? Giants or the Steelers?
by and far, Pittsburgh has a better chance of turning it around. I think they have more continuity defensively. I think they got rid of their cancers, and they still have. I mean, to me, leaps and bounds better. Roethlisberger over Manning, and I would take that 1,000 times over. I think their running game stronger. They have more all-pros on the offensive line for Pittsburgh. I think they almost added by subtracting Bell and Brown and not having to deal with their shenanigans. I mean, you don't even see, looking at all the ridiculous entrances at camp, you know who didn't enter camp like an asshole? Juju Smith-Schuster. He showed up in his car, he unpacked, and he went to work. Like, that's what we want. Go win a ring. Go do it the right way. It doesn't have to be about me. You got plenty of time, especially looking at the Polamalu stuff. You got the rest of your career to walk around the stadium, shake babies, kiss hands, do all kinds of stuff that you want once your career is over, but do something with your career. Focus on getting that championship. Focus on being a championship team and being a teammate. And the personal accolades will follow you after your career is done. I mean, there's guys from the 70s Steelers that still walk around the stadium and are recognized and get free drinks and different things because they won a Super Bowl. They were on those championship teams of the 70s. So they can win it now. The window's right now, and it's about to close because you got to take advantage of Roethlisberger while he's there because I don't know what the future holds for the position. And I mean, maybe Mason Rudolph is the man, or maybe with Dobbs or one of the other quarterbacks that we could possibly bring in, but they're unproven until they get to where we feel confident. But I know with what you have, you got to take advantage of the quarterback when you have it.
I'll give Juju a point because I was going to bring that up. I had a buddy of mine send a picture of his Juju jersey that he had got signed by him. And I thought, you know what? I never received any friends' photos of them getting something signed by Bell or Brown. But it just makes sense like that. No big deal. Juju signed it. I figured he would have. If you saw him and you stood out there, he was 100% going to sign. I would have put money on it. But I have one last question. Giants, Pittsburgh. Which team has the better Michigan Wolverine star defender? Jabril Peppers or Devin Bush?
Well, I'm going to go with Devin Bush because he has a high pedigree of winning cultivated by Devin Bush's father. I mean, it's no doubt. I didn't anticipate him not being a winner because he knew growing up he was in a culture of winning. So why wouldn't he just be a winner? Where does Dad go to school?
Oh, I don't know. That was such a long time ago.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I will say that hopefully Devin Bush gets it done and they do win the Super Bowl. Let's transition into college now. The big news that was so disappointing to me, I'm not even a Penn State fan, but their athletic director has kind of let it leak that she was shopping it around the idea of renaming Beaver Stadium, selling the rights, Matt. Could you believe it?
Yeah, I can. I'm sure someone found Beaver offensive and probably wanted to shop around, and it's the culture that we have. Well, everything's offensive, so why wouldn't they shop it?
They're just going to get someone else to buy the rights, Matt. It's going to be egregious. It's going to say, well, let's think. What would it be? Hershey Stadium. What else is around the area that they could get some name for? Some insurance company stadium. Probably, hell, sell the rights to name the end zones and the field. That's four things you can sell right there. Away end zone, home end zone, the field itself, the locker rooms.
But Penn State makes so much money that why are they trying to sell the rights and trying to make more money off of it? They got a gazillion dollars of alumni money coming in. Why would you need to continue to sell? Are they scraping paint off the side of the road trying to make some money?
That's my beef with it because it's not like you have Wrigley Field. That's such an iconic name. A lot of people don't know that in Chicago, Wrigley Gum bought the rights to name that stadium for however many hundreds of years. I don't even know if they helped build it or what that agreement was, but the stadium's already built. You don't need the money. You were just bragging, along with the rest of the Big Ten, on how much money you made from your television network deal. But now it comes in, oh man, we got to sell the rights to our stadium. That's the last final frontier for Penn State football, Matt. Final frontier.
That's because they spent all that money on hockey. As soon as you go into hockey, and now you got to buy a stadium, you got to buy all that pads. Now all of a sudden, you're not making ends meet. See how that works?
I
told
think
you, the devil.
What if they already have a deal with Scott Paterno and he's going to buy the rights to name it Paterno Field?
I would die laughing. Because there's no one. I don't think if I was him, I would blow the stadium up before I would try to rename it after all the crap that their family went through and all of that ordeal. I would stay as far away from that as humanly possible.
It would be the most fitting end, I think. So that's my dream.
But the funny thing with that, though, is realistically, if he put the money up, do you think that they would rename it that?
Oh, 100%. I could see them going, will there be backlash? Yes. Is it far enough in the past? I don't know. You'd probably have to wait. Maybe they're letting it sink out now. That's where I think they would name the field. Geico presents Joe Paterno Field. Some other commercial. Who else? Budweiser and Geico present. How much can they get a co-sponsor? I'll laugh if they get a ridiculous name like that. Every time they come on television. Then just in time for NCAA football to be brought back by EA Sports. Maybe they'll sponsor it. EA Stadium. Then they just have one stadium in the game when they remake it. You can only play as Penn State. No names on the jersey, remember that. I got some more Big Ten news. Ohio State self-reported 16 NCAA violations, including football, and one of them, I don't know if it was football related because it was kind of it didn't align right when I read it, the report, probably because they're trying to hide stuff. But, Matt, the one thing that caught my eye was that they were overpaying student scholarships. What does that mean to you?
Well, they're probably getting extra meal tickets.
Yeah, but they reported that they paid too much. Doesn't that just mean that they're paying players?
No, they're helping them buy books and notebooks. You know how expensive pens can be for a college student.
I want to know if they're going to do what Michigan State did. Remember when Miles Bridges in basketball, they came out that he had got his meal paid for, so they had like a mini press conference where he came out and paid the money back. That would be the funniest thing. I don't even know if it was public or if it was just like a Michigan newspaper thing, but I remember that they had a big ordeal, and it was kind of like, look, NCAA, he paid it back, no big deal. Don't suspend us from the tournament. Don't give us a letter of violation like you're going to give NC State, and probably just NC State, because NC State's the only one that has gotten one so far. So it worked. That's what NC State should have done. They should have had Dennis Smith come back and give the money to Coach Keats or whoever. Maybe they have to bring back Gottfried. I don't know how the NCAA would work on that, but he hands the $50,000 back or $100,000, whatever they paid him. And then he waves, and then they're like, see, no big deal.
Oh, no harm, no foul.
It worked for Michigan State, so I don't know. But Ohio State, very bold, because why? I don't even know. Well, you can report violations as long as you don't give yourself, what I've learned in the past couple of years from the NCAA, as long as you don't punish yourself and you just say like, we'll have to talk to our lawyers, then the NCAA won't really punish you. The old UNC defense. So I don't think anything should be done for Ohio State, but just the fact, I thought it was funny that they blatantly admitting to paying players to the NCAA. Like, yeah, we gave them too much financial aid. We gave them who even knows? They didn't even say how much. Maybe they gave them an extra 100 G's, Matt. Oh, was that too much? Was that too much? Sorry about that. I added a couple zeros there.
Maybe they need to buy Trapper Keeper. One of the good ones. Can't be going to school with a bad Trapper Keeper. Maybe
they needed a new car. They needed that Escalade. Because you know how hot it gets. Needed one with that sweet AC.
They need that BK Ratch Tech shoes. Gotta get ready for school.
Oh, but the big news is Urban Meyer. He's still looking at USC. The articles keep coming, Matt. I should have a counter. I should set up like I think they let you do like a trend alert on Google where you can get alerted to every time someone writes an article about Urban Meyer to USC, and I should just have it counted on the show.
And then I will have an opposite counter that says, just say no, just like drugs. We can have just say no, and we can say just say no to Urban.
But the big news this week, the big speculation, Ohio State lost 2 top running back commits. Both of them were recruited by Urban Meyer and are now looking at USC. Do they know something? Did the Herb show him his LA mansion that he bought and said, look, I'm already here, guys. Just come on over. We're going to run the offense through you.
No, but I think that this is one of the things that you're seeing is that for as much crap as we're going to give Urban Meyer, and for as horrible of a person as he appears to be, at the end of the day, the cat wins football games. When you're winning in Utah, and then you're winning in Georgeville, and you're winning in Columbus, like you're doing something right. Either you got the right bag man, or you're doing whatever you need to do to be successful. You figured the game out. You got the cheat codes. So if he goes to USC, I'm sure that they'll be under sanctions under 10 years. So it makes sense. So with Ryan Day now, he doesn't have the bag man, and he doesn't have the codes that Urban had. So now you're going to see, can he make the college football playoff? If he can't do it, or if he stumbles and has another blowout loss to Purdue, that may hurt. Those guys that are decommitting and looking elsewhere, they're going to continue to look elsewhere. If he rebounds and has a successful season and shows, hey, it didn't matter that Urban was there, this is who we are, you're going to see those guys flip right back, and it's going to be like nothing changed. The thing is, though, the Big Ten has to capitalize on Urban Meyer leaving, and Michigan has to take that step and be able to pull one off in the game to be able to try to upset the trend that's been going on in Columbus. They have to be able to start putting some games and putting some spark back in the rivalry, or you're going to see Ohio State continue to dominate not just the Big Ten, but to be a potential candidate for the bigger playoff games.
Oh, I agree, and I think that if the same type of stuff happens where Ohio State wins and then gets left out of the playoffs, I think you start to see the Big Ten slip, and then you have the next TV negotiations and they don't get as much money. Then they're starting to become that lesser conference where now you have teams on the top. Wisconsin just scheduled a home-and-home with Alabama, looking like they're about to throw out. They had one scheduled with Virginia Tech that they keep pushing back. Looks like they're just going to cancel that one, or at least push the Virginia Tech one back again because they want to bring in Alabama, which makes no sense. I give them credit, though. They did schedule Alabama at home first because Alabama has always usually canceled their return trips to teams. I don't think they've ever... Someone said they've never went out of their time zone since like Bear Bryant, maybe? I saw a stat. They went up to Penn State, though, and they beat them, but that was a sanctioned Penn State team, I believe. So they're very... They pick their battles when Alabama actually leaves the state in the non-conference. But I didn't see a lot of people talk about the fact that that's Alabama's 9th Power 5 opponent that year. They're still probably going to have 3 cupcakes. So even if they slip up against Wisconsin, they're going to end up 3-1 in the non-conference no matter what. Win the SEC, no one's going to care. Wisconsin, on the other hand, that's their 10th Power 5 game. They only have possibly 2 cupcakes. That's why I think they'll cancel the Virginia Tech one, because their non-conference could be someone like Western Michigan, Alabama, and Virginia Tech. That's a brutal non-conference schedule whenever you have 9 conference games to play as well.
But you still got Rutgers, so you're still getting a FCS team.
Hey, I did have a funny stat for Rutgers. I saw someone put out the Big Ten ratio, like percentages of top 500 players on the 24/7 composite, recruits that are committed to the schools. Michigan and Ohio State were top, both around 20. I think Michigan was like ahead by like a 0.8% or something crazy, but it's basically the same. Penn State was next at like 16% of their commits were in the top 500. Rutgers, 0% of their commits were in the top 500, which is pretty generous because of 500, I mean, you should at least get one. Those New Jersey kids are usually ranked pretty high. Nothing. Michigan State had 1.8%. Probably one commit. So, not good for the Big Ten bottom feeders. Oh, man. We've talked about USC. I forgot to bring up, I had it on the big board so I didn't forget. Pac-12 announced that they are thinking of starting games at 9 a.m. This is Pacific time, which means that it would be noon on the East Coast. But Matt, if you were a Florida State fan, they're coming to play Pitt at 9 a.m. Would you go?
Florida State playing Pitt?
At Pitt, 9 a.m. You'd have to wake up at what time to get there? 5?
Well, it doesn't matter because I would go. Because when Florida State played Pitt last time, you know who I saw? I saw Jameis.
You saw me. We were hanging out.
I saw Jameis. And all he did was just complete almost every throw except the 2 or 3 that bounced off the receiver's hands. It was phenomenal.
It rained. There was a delay. It was not a great game.
It was an awesome game. Those completions galore.
What did you think about the tailgating scene there? You loved it. You were getting those free burgers for the student section we sat in. Wait, you didn't even sit with us, though. I don't think you sat with us. No, you sold us out. You just tailgated for free and then went in.
I had tailgate for free. I didn't even eat any of those burgers. That was you.
Missed out. Free burgers from Pitt. Pub right on the riverfront. Riverwalk, whatever they call that.
You can't buy me with a cheap burger.
Hey, they were selling those old Pitt script shirts. I got the powder blue ones that I like. Now they're bringing those back full time, so maybe they'll have some good things. But the 9 o'clock games is completely nuts to me. Because why? Who are you going to get? The noon game, it's set in stone. It's a Big Ten matchup, and it's an ACC matchup at the same exact time. It's been that way since as long as I can remember. You have maybe Michigan playing Rutgers. Maybe you have whatever. You have Ohio State playing some school at noon, Toledo or someone. Then you have the ACC equivalent where Florida State's playing Jacksonville State or NC State's playing ECU. That's the noon game. You're not going to get anyone to switch to watch.
Guess what? You will, because if you're playing, if you have, who would you rather watch? Washington State, Oregon, or Michigan whip up on the DeVry School of the Blind?
But they're not going to put that game at 9 a.m.
Unless they pull an App State, you're not watching that game after the second quarter.
They're not putting that game at 9 a.m. If it's a conference game, and the Big Ten does put conference games, I think that they said, well, obviously Michigan, Ohio State, that's a nooner. Even if they put Oregon, Washington, no one's watching that too. Or Washington State, no one's watching that. They're watching the Michigan, Ohio State game like they do every year at noon. So it doesn't make any sense to put it at 9 a.m. Like you said, the second half, though, that's fair game. So for me, start the game at 10:30. Start it at 11. So when that first game gets boring, start it even at 10. Guess what? I can switch over. Let's see. This game just started. Maybe it'll be intriguing. Michigan's up 35-0 on Rutgers already. Oh, damn, that was fast.
Common sense and logic into it. Don't bring common sense and logic into it. The bottom line is everyone knows it's a noon start. It's a 3 o'clock start.
If they started at 10, though, Fox is known for their 1 and 4 p.m. starts from the NFL. It's on Fox. They own the rights. I think they're the ones pushing for it. Keep the 1 p.m. slot. That
would make sense, and it would be helpful, and I think it would plug some of those Pac-12 games that I think they desperately need a little bit of publicity, because that's one of the things that hurts them. I think when you look at teams that are qualifying for those college football playoff spots is the fact that you don't see the Pac-12 enough, because a lot of those games don't start till 11 o'clock or midnight on the East Coast. So unless it's really a barn burner, and the only teams that I would even think about staying up that late to watch is the Pirate, and that's just because fans of them. Just I enjoy watching what he does with the talent that he has, because he's not pulling 100% blue chip. He's got to dip into the barrel a little bit, and he's got to make do with some lesser quality athletes. And I love what he does with it.
I agree, although I would have added in that I would have kept watching Rich Rod at Arizona. But now Kevin Sumlin, That's not going to be intriguing enough for me to stay up. So you only have Mike Leach, like you said, because they're not putting their best teams at midnight. The Pac-12 After Dark is kind of a joke because it is just Mike Leach and Washington State, because they know people will stay up to watch that. And they know even if they put Washington up against, or Stanford, one of their best teams, up against some other smaller school, people aren't staying up to watch it because it's not going to be a good game. You have to almost have like your Washington State Oregon matchup or someone that's intriguing in that time slot. Just do something different. It's not working for you. You've been competing. You make the Pac-12 network to compete with the Big Ten. Complete failure. Doesn't work at all. You're not competing at all. So you put out those commercials about how you win national championships in rowing and fencing and water polo and all these other sports no one watches. Great, Pac-12. Keep racking them up. No one cares. And then you watch their sport go over in like the NCAA tournament for basketball a few years ago. You watch them struggle in football. And then they want you to go and watch their game instead of the heavy hitters on the East Coast. What if it's like a Notre Dame NC State game? They're not turning that game off. That's a noon game in the ACC on ESPN or ABC. You're not going to get people to switch to watch Arizona State take on Utah. You're just not. You're not going to put your best game up against it. The only thing that would be intriguing is if they put their head matchup. But I don't even want that. Start the game at 10, 10:15, so that it fills that slot. Like Matt said, everyone knows the games end at 3, 3:30. Your family will be there. They'll try to talk to you at that time frame while you're waiting for the next game to start. And you just hope that there's overtime or something happens where you can just keep the football flowing the entire time and you don't have that 15-minute break in the action. Pac-12 could plug that up. Then there's always like the 6 o'clock game where it's like a weird San Diego State versus Utah Tech. And you're like, what is this? Who are these schools? I never heard of them. Why is this game on at 7 when there's no other game on? Plug that hole, Pac-12. Let people watch your games. But that's all I have this week. A lot of complaining, it seems like. You got anything, Matt, for college football?
Absolutely. I was really pleased that Saturday Night Lights at Florida State, they pulled in a lot of really good talent, and it definitely moved the needle because they got a couple commitments and it bumped. I believe they're now up to around 11, which previously people were complaining, and I saw there was a lot of negative reports that were saying that the recruiting is kind of fallen by the wayside and that no one's really caring. But it's like they put together a really good program. They had a lot of stuff that the recruits liked, and it seemed like all in all that it led to some positive things that are hopefully going to build so that they can fill these horrible gaps that were left from the end of the last regime, and they're going to get those things plugged and be ready to go come fall.
Yeah, I really like their recruiting strategy this year of letting recruits know that if they struggle in school or they have trouble memorizing the playbook, that they do not even have a playbook, so it's very easy to remember their plays. If you come there, you don't have to worry about that type of struggle. So if you can't get into your favorite school, just make sure you know Florida State's always available. They'll take you.
And guess what? Just like Kendall Browse, I don't use a playbook either. You know what I say? They ask for a playbook. I say, just learn the damn plays. We're running 4 plays. Learn them. Pay attention.
I knew you'd love that.
Here, take your ADHD medication and just learn. It's that easy.
All right, let's get into wrap up the show. We're going to get into Major League Baseball, the other big topic. Mark Cuban shows up in Pittsburgh, and it starts the never-ending cycle with the question, will Mark Cuban buy the Pirates? So it starts to get floated around while he's there. He's at the game. He's hanging out. Fans get excited. Newspapers write their clickbait title. Oh yeah, Mark Cuban, he's thinking about buying the Pirates. Then it comes out that Mark Cuban sent an email to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette outlining the reasons he will not buy the Pirates because they are outdated. They lost touch with the fans, which I talked about with football earlier in the show. If you lose touch with the younger fans, your sport's not going to have anywhere to grow. And I think it comes down to the fact that Major League Baseball, they don't want Mark Cuban. I've heard, I was trying to do some research on this because the way I heard Mark Cuban inquire about the Pirates before is different than what I saw. So in my research, they had said that he inquired before Bob Nutting bought the team, and they said that the Pirates were not for sale. And then, of course, they sold to Nutting. From when I remember it, I thought that the owners from Major League Baseball did what the NFL did to Trump and the Bills. Basically said, like, hey, we don't want that guy to be an owner because he's not one of us. He's a young tech guy. He's going to bring in all these ideas and want us to change the game and all this stuff. It's going to be too much upheaval. We want someone that's more in line with Major League Baseball thinking. And it makes sense if you look at Mark Cuban's statements, because he came directly at that. He said, I don't want to be in baseball because they haven't done anything to help the sport. The only progressive stuff that they talk about is adding a game clock, which everyone knows is ridiculous. And I have already complained about going to Major League Baseball games and no one pays attention to it because no one takes it seriously. I've seen it run out a few times. Nothing happened. So you're there. Is that going to matter? Are they going to do something? Are they juicing the balls? Are they using technology to their advantage? Are they letting players connect with kids? I think Mark Cuban could do a lot of great things, not just for the Pirates, but for baseball in general, because you have to have that younger approach. And I honestly just think that whatever happened behind closed doors, if the rumors were true, if they really did say, hey, we're not going to let you be an owner, the team's not for sale, but then they turn around and sell it to Bob Nutting, it just doesn't make sense to me. And now I think he also made a quip about just collecting millions of dollars in revenue, and all you have to do is listen to Pirates fans yell at you all year round. I think that was throwing shade at Bob Nutting. I don't know if you saw that quote, but he kind of said, hey, if I would give you $25 million a year, would you stand downtown Pittsburgh every day while Pirates fans yelled at you? And then for $25 million, every Joe Schmo off the street is going to say yes. You know they would. That'd be an easy job. You just sit down there eating some Permanis while people just yell at you. That's basically what Bob Nutting's doing while he just collects his millions. Sitting on it, using it as a business revenue investment, paying off. He's not there to win games. So what are your thoughts on that, Matt? I know that was a pretty long explanation, but I wanted to give people some background into the Mark Cuban thing if they don't follow baseball closely.
Well, here's to me the thing with it is that with Mark Cuban, I think some of this is actions to drive down the value. So, oh yeah, I'm not interested, but then it shows up because guess what? For as much as we complain about the Pirates, people still show up. They still are a money-making franchise in Major League Baseball that he would be insane not to make that investment in the team, because I think just like with recruiting, when you get a new coach that has star value, you get a bump. I think if Nutting sold the Pirates to Mark Cuban, a guy who has on his resume a championship and knows what it takes to build a major league championship team, I think he would get a bump and the fans would be energized and he would definitely generate a lot of money. But I think it would be a benefit for him to do that. I don't know that Nutting would be willing to make that sacrifice and give up the cash cow. Because for as much as people hate the Pirates and they're in last place right now, there's still people going to the stadium. There's still people that watch the games. There's still people that do all the stuff. And it's like, for what? What is there even remotely interesting about the Pirates right now? Like, I don't understand it. And I gave up on them years ago because I felt like I don't want to be, and this is one of the reasons why, even during the Bucktober days in years past, where like I didn't jump on the bandwagon because I felt like I stayed with them for a while. And it's like, it's not fun to go there and watch just a farm team play at the major league level. There's nothing exciting to me about that. And I feel like when you're not even coming close to making a competitive team, there's nothing to cheer for. There's nothing to be excited about. So you're better off rooting for the Altoona Curve. If you want to support the Pirates, go to Altoona. Support the Curve, because at least you're going to see those players who will eventually get traded to the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers. You'll get to see them, and you can claim to be Pittsburgh affiliated, and you can go there and you can see a great game at a great venue, and you don't have to worry about actually going to the Pirates and seeing what a Little League team looks like going out, because they're in the bottom of there's nothing to watch. You got the Cubbies and the Cardinals right now battling for first place, and the last I saw that they were tied. Like, there's two teams that are willing to make moves, they're willing to trade people, they're willing to try to acquire pieces to make their teams better. St. Louis just signed a left-handed pitcher for cash. It's like maybe he's not going to contribute immediately, but they're signing guys. They're trying to make moves to continue to be competitive. It's like what's Pittsburgh done? Did they buy another bag of hot dog buns? Did they acquire some minor league prospects, some hopes and dreams, or a bag of sunflower seeds? Like, come on, there's nothing there.
I saw someone that was trying to defend the Pirates based on the attendance and how it hasn't been pushed up. And then I saw another thing that was actual stats where it said Pirates are 12th in operating revenue. They're outdrawing all their teams or cities that are in their kind of size, the small market, and all those other teams are way outpaying them because they're 25th in payroll.
But how much of this revenue bump is it fans that have affiliations with the Cubs, with the Cardinals, that are battling for first place, that, hey, I want to see my team that's in first place.
I don't think it matters. I think
you can walk up and go to a game for next to nothing.
I don't think it matters, because operating revenue should just be the stadium and going to the games. Like, that should be the tickers. So people can't complain about the stadium being empty if they're 12th in Major League Baseball. We already know they're top 5 in TV viewership for whatever reason. Like, why would people be watching the Pirates every year? How are they that high on TV?
It's almost like you want to watch how bad they are.
Which, of course, I wonder, Matt, if Nottingham's waiting to see how the TV deal goes. Because what if he's able to strike a deal like the Big Ten, where, okay, now you have like the Yankees and the Red Sox and all the teams that are ahead of them, of course, but if the Pirates can get a significant monetary bump, he doesn't have to spend it on the payroll. That's just money in his pocket. I mean, he's already not spending the revenue.
Oh, I agree, and I think that the trend's going to continue. The money still is flowing. There's no move to go, and I think it's a shame, because I think that people really do want to see a quality product on the field for baseball, and it's been lie after lie after lie of just, oh yeah, you fill the stadium and we'll give you a good team. Well, they had the team, and then they didn't spend a nickel. They traded everyone away, and now they're back to being a bottom feeder, and it's, oh, woe is me. Well, you just created this self-fulfilling prophecy by giving everyone away, and you got players now fighting with the support staff and getting suspensions, and it's a debacle.
And I think they could be a more national team across the United States, because they could be the underdog that everyone loves. Everyone loves the Steelers. I mean, Mark Cuban, circling back around to him, he tried to buy the Penguins. I believe it was the same year that Lemieux went in. So it's not like he's from Pittsburgh, or at least Mount Lebanon, I think. And he's there. He's trying to invest in Pittsburgh. Maybe it works out for him. Maybe Nutty's going to see how the TV deal goes. Maybe he uses that to drive up the value. He sells and gets out, because he knows that once he gets the TV deal, then the networks are really going to start to look at the numbers. And if the numbers start to drop, he's not going to get that money next time. I don't know, because it's all a big chess match. You got to try to get the money. You can sit on it till the DVD deal's almost out, but no buyer is going to buy it unless they have the hard numbers. I could see someone offering now because they figure they can get a television bump, especially someone like Mark Cuban that might be able to parlay that into some type of internet streaming thing. You can have all your games on like YouTube TV or something. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can go instead of pigeonholing it in on AT&T Sports when they're one of only like a couple major league franchises that are even on that network. Almost everyone else is owned by Fox, which we've talked about getting them all on one blackout-free streaming thing in the past. Fox owns most of the rights. Pirates are going to be one of the holdouts until this new deal. Will Fox buy them knowing that they're getting top 5 numbers? Will they pay their worth? I don't know.
Well, here's the other part to it, is that the Pirates are reaping the benefits of being in a strong conference. So when you're looking at the TV deals, you're getting people that want to watch the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cards. I don't know why, but I guess the Reds. Similar to why does Rutgers need to field a successful team?
I knew you were going to say that.
Because it's the same deal. Like, Rutgers don't have to field a good team. They can still cash their check for the Big Ten, and they can draw Michigan. They can draw Ohio State. They can draw all those teams that are signing the recruiting classes and have the clout to be able to push that off. And you can just say, hey, here's our Big Ten network deal. Here's these high profile games that you can come and watch, and we can just field a 0-star team. We can just roll out the balls and just pistol whip us.
Hey, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anything they're going to solve soon. Team's been down. Everyone's starting to chirp up again because it's another year where the same thing happens. When you don't have the talent, sure, you can be competitive for the first half of the season. Then the wheels fall off. It's been happening every year because they don't have the pieces and they're not close. I don't understand why fans can't realize that. You have all the casual fans that are like, oh, well, if only they do this, they do that. I mean, you're overpaying for Clint Hurdle. Why? Pay basically nothing for a manager. He's doing nothing. You need like a young kid. I mean, look at what the Yankees do. They just hire like old players to be their manager. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why you have Clint Hurdle when you're paying him all this money? Cut him free. Hire back like some Pirates guy that's young and try to recruit people in free agency. Like, I don't understand what their strategy is, but
get your boy Barry Bonds. Let him coach.
Oh, Barry Bonds, man. Another guy, we talked about Polamalu being blacklisted. My man Barry Bonds is still blacklisted. I love him. Please come back to Pittsburgh anytime. I'd love to hang out with you if you ever want to come on the show. Please call in. Barry Bonds, not guilty. Best player of all time. We got one more baseball topic, though. We're going to go quick because we're running long here. Detroit Tigers, I just wanted to apologize to you, Matt. I talked about how the Tigers had a plan. They were rebuilding. They're just going to tank to rebuild, but now it's on historic levels. Man, I had the numbers, and I couldn't find the text. Of course, I did. I must not have screenshotted it, but I believe, this is going from memory, that in their last however many games, they went 19 and something like 49. They were on pace that if they went with the same record, 19 and 49 to end the season, they would have tied for the worst record ever in baseball, I guess, history. Tying the Mets. Was it the 1962 Mets with like 60-something wins or something like that? It could be worse than that. They could have the worst ever record. So when they were ahead of the Orioles, and I told you, and they're ahead of the Orioles, they're not even in last place, blah, blah, blah. Like, I knew there was someone worse than them. Nah, son. They went like 1-9 on like a 10-game losing streak there, and they're not even fighting. They won one, I believe, yesterday, which would have been Monday. Do they have any hope? Are they going to have the worst record, Matt? What do you think?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to channel the force to them. They will not. We will allow Baltimore to be the black hole of MLB. Joe, you need to get your shit together. Let's go. Just don't be dead last.
No, I think they want to be last.
What else you are, just don't be dead last.
They want to get that number one pick. There's a sure thing hitter.
No, be second to dead last. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So you're going to sign him, and then 47 years later, it doesn't matter.
True.
He's not going to play right away. You send him to Moines, Iowa, and leave him out there for 10 years.
True, because
it's just like you're planting corn. You just plant that prospect out there in AAA or single A, and then you just let them grow for 5 to 10 years and see what's there. Like, there's no immediate feedback. So what difference does it make? The Pirates have been planting prospects for years. it hasn't helped them.
Plus, if you pick second and that first pick doesn't pan out, then you don't look as dumb.
Yeah. Hey, we only had the number 2 pick.
They're like, damn, we could have took that guy anyway. We had to take the next best guy. Because I believe there's a pitcher and a hitter. So you got to depend on which way you want to build your team. But if you pick second, it doesn't matter. I don't think they have any hope, though. I think they end up last in the Major League Baseball. Will they be historic record? I would have said no. I did say no on this show a few weeks ago, but now I'm going to have to say yes. I don't think they're going to turn it around. And we will see what happens. But that's it. That's all I had. What do you got? You got anything for the final bill, Matt?
Nope. I think we covered it all. Want to just see St. Louis just continue to build and be ready because we got heat acclimation next week. So let's get after it. Back into football.
Yeah, football coming up on the show next week. We're going to start doing some of our previews. Not sure if we're going to start with the NFL or college football yet, but we'll put that out there. Next week's show, go to our website, southboundsports.com. You can support us by clicking on our Amazon affiliate link, and you can download the latest episodes. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends before football starts, because we have some fantasy football stuff coming up. We should actually do that probably next week, but we'll see. That's coming up on the Southbound Sports Show. So subscribe, tell your friends, and thank you for watching.